Hi. Something that I've been thinking about for a while is about Batman the Animated Series. Does it hold up? Batman the Animated Series is the first ever show that I can remember watching. It's the first show I can remember collecting stuff for action figures, videotapes. Um, so there's lots of nostalgia there. But does my appreciation for Batman the Animated Series just come from nostalgia, or is there more to it? And I've been thinking about that a lot, and there was a time where I thought I wasn't a big fan of Batman the Animated Series because I thought of a bunch of things that bothered me about it, but and I didn't. I'm guessing that a lot of people won't be happy about my Batman Mask of the Phantasm video. At the time of me doing this, I've been doing that. I don't think it's come out by the time I've started working on this. But I'm guessing a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of that, but I hopefully not too bad because I was there to express my honest opinions and try to be as fair as I could be, but I could give the impression that I'm not a big fan of Batman the Animated Series, but however, thinking back to it, I realized that a lot of my issues that I thought were for Batman the Animated Series were actually for the new Batman Adventures. The season with Tim Drake and different animation style, and a lot of things that I thought were bad about Batman animated series I realized were actually for that. So thinking back to Batman animated series and separating the new Batman Adventures because I think it's technically a different show, even though it gets confusing with the DVD releases and stuff like that. And but Batman the animated series, I think, does hold up. And I think that could be surprising considering that I don't think that Batman as the Phantasm holds up. I think the show holds up. And Batman animated series, what I really like about it is a lot of episodes feel very different. And to be fair, I actually normally really like consistency. I like how the live action Batman show and uh, was often a sort of similar thing, but I like Batman animated series trying different things where some episodes focus more on the villain, some are more focused on the heroes. Some are more grounded, others are more entertaining. There's even some comedic episodes, there's some very dramatic episodes. There were lots of different styles of storytelling that were tested out and led to a lot of really interesting results. It led to a show that is one of the more memorable Batman shows because there's so many individual episodes that are memorable. Where for some Batman shows, it's easy to think about the show as a whole, but for Batman the Animated Series, it's interesting to think about individual stories. And there's a lot of really interesting takes on the characters. Batman is very good in the show. I have some problems when it comes to what Batman's like later on in the same continuity, moving on to other shows. But in Batman the Animated Series, I think they're able to have a good balance where he's not as optimistic and upbeat as the Batman from the Adam West era, but he is very likable. He is very heroic. He is able to be cool. He's able to have really good storylines. He's able to have morality somewhat tested, but still remain a good person. And I like that there's a lot of episodes of Batman on his own without Robin. But to be fair, there is some good stuff with Robin. Robin's Reckoning is actually a really good episode. Um, and it was kind of interesting to have some episodes where Batman is on his own, and other episodes where Robin could be there. Batgirl isn't in Batman the Animated Series that much, but she is really good for what she does get to do. Alfred and Commissioner Gordon consistently really good supporting characters. Really nothing to complain about with either of them. Lucius Fox is kind of just there though. Unfortunately, doesn't get that involved in things. At least he's there. Mayor Hill is a fun supporting character. I like him. A lot of the big memorable stuff from Batman animated series does come from the villains. Although I do think Batman's my favorite character in the show overall. Aside from him, a lot of my favorite characters are the villains. I like the Joker in the show, and I think it's a lot of Batman's fans' favorite definitive Joker, the Mark Hamill Joker. It's not for me, in the sense that it's not my big definitive Joker, but I do like him. He is entertaining. Uh, a lot of his episodes are solid. Not quite as fun as a lot of the Cesar Romero Joker stuff, but I do like him. And that's how I feel similarly about like Penguin and Riddler, where they're entertaining to watch. The show has good takes on them, but not as entertaining as the versions that came before. Catwoman's solid. Two Face is great. I love that Two Face finally got to be in a Batman show, and they do a really good job making him sympathetic. He's fantastic in the show, one of the best. Scarecrow is great. I love him. As somebody that often deals with anxiety, seeing Batman fight against scarecrows, I think fear toxins, there's some pretty emotionally powerful stuff, particularly in Dreams in Darkness. I think that's quite possibly the most inspiring episode for me, where I often feel concerned about things that aren't happening, but I worry could happen if they seem like there's a very low possibility of them happening. And seeing Batman deal with similar stuff and work past that, that was really a really meaningful episode for me. Uh, and Scarecrow, great in the show. Love him. Love a lot of the characters. Rupert Thorne's pretty cool character working behind the scenes. Roland Daggett's a fun character that I think was actually created for Batman the animated series. Like Harley Quinn, who is kind of annoying in Batman the animated series. Arlene Sorkin, very talented actress, certainly missed. Harley Quinn herself is a character in the show, though. Uh, a little irritating at times. Um, and that can be distracting when stuff will focus on her, like Harley's Holiday. That's kind of a rough episode. And with a lot of the experimental stuff on the show with different types of episodes, that meant that not every episode worked out, in my opinion. So there are episodes like Harley's Holiday where it's like, this isn't really the best. Like, there's like the Hard Act two-parter, which has some cool Barbara Gordon stuff, but aside from that, not a big fan of that. It does have a sequel though; it's really good at least. Uh, the episode where like Joker is, I think like hypnotizing comedians, even though it has the Condiment Cane stuff, which seems to be really popular. I actually don't think that's it's terribly funny. Not a big fan of that one. So there's the occasional episodes that don't really work well, in my opinion, and then there's the thing that's a more personal bias. And this is not to be a super objective thing. This is more of a subjective thing where I really, really didn't like the Clayface episodes of Batman the Animated Series at all. But that's a personal subjective thing because I felt terrified by Clayface's origin. It felt super scary with his transformation, and I felt really uncomfortable, and I felt scared of Clayface. So um, I really, really didn't care for his episodes. But again, that's a super personal thing. That's not here to count as an objective thing. It's not me objectively calling the Clayface episodes bad. But so there was a time where I thought Batman animated series was kind of hit or miss. But thinking back on it, even though there's the occasional episode that I don't think works too great, I think the show is more consistent than I realized, and I think the show is better than I realized and holds up better than I thought it did. So hopefully I haven't gotten too much bad responses for not being the biggest fan of Batman Mask Phantasm, and hopefully it doesn't seem like I don't like the Kevin Conroy version of Batman, because I do. So I do really like Batman the animated series, and thinking back to on it on how many emotional episodes there are and some good fun episodes, I realized that it's not just nostalgia. Nostalgia helps, but I think there's a strong possibility that I could have ended up being a fan of the show even if I hadn't grown up with it. Um, Now, I think the big question is it the best Batman show? And that's a very, very hard thing to answer. It's hard to get super objective. In my opinion, it does stand out, arguably the most, but there are a lot of things like I kind of prefer some of the characterizations of some of the Batman characters in the Adam West show, and it's really hard to compare the '60s show to the animated series because of how different they are. Um, I do think that Batman the animated series is one of the better Batman shows and one of the better Batman adaptations. I don't feel like it's the as definitive as in the sense that no Batman cartoon shows afterwards. Like, I feel like a lot of them, not I don't have the feeling like, oh, none of them matter because they aren't Batman animated series. I feel like because of Batman animated series being so good, I feel like a lot of really good Batman shows that came afterwards didn't really get a fair chance. So I think there are some really good Batman shows, and it's not just Batman the animated series that's the big definitive great Batman show. I think there's other good versions of Batman, in my opinion, but the animated series is one of the better ones, in my opinion.